5 years ago, I pulled a young woman from the inferno of a burning building. In that chaotic moment, amidst the smoke and fear, something sparked between us, an undeniable connection, maybe even love at first sight. Her name was Clara. Over the next 5 years, that spark grew into a steady flame. We became inseparable, the couple everyone pointed to as the ideal, the benchmark for relationship goals. Our friends often joked, half envious, half admiring, about our seemingly perfect bond. Clara was a talented watch designer. Every year, on our anniversary, she presented me with a pocket watch, exquisitely crafted, uniquely designed just for me. Each piece was a tangible symbol of our shared time, our enduring love. I cherished them, displaying them proudly. My friends knew me as a pocket watch aficionado, and marrying Clara felt like a dream where my passion met my love. Then, one ordinary afternoon, while searching for misplaced amusement park tickets Clara swore she'd left in my study, I idly flipped through one of her thick design sketchbooks. Tucked between familiar concepts was a design I'd never seen before, intricate and beautiful. Beneath it, a handwritten inscription sent a chill down my spine. Starry Leo, only for you. Below the dedication was a small, elegant signature. Clara. The recipient, Leo. My mind raced, sifting through names and faces. It took a moment, a dreadful sinking feeling solidifying in my gut, before a familiar image surfaced. Leo. Her assistant. Ethan, did you find the park tickets? I could have sworn I left them in here. Clara's voice, light and cheerful, drifted in from the hallway. My fingers trembled slightly as I slipped the 2 amusement park tickets from between the pages, carefully sliding the heavy sketchbook back into its place on the shelf just as she walked in. She looked radiant, dressed in a light, sleeveless summer dress that highlighted her effortless grace. I held up the tickets, forcing a smile. Her eyes instantly lit up. She hurried over, linking her arm through mine affectionately, standing on her toes to plant a soft kiss on my cheek. The cheek still bearing the faint, puckered reminder of the fire. Ethan, you're amazing. Where did you find them? She chirped. My gaze flickered involuntarily towards the sketchbook. Clara followed my eyes, and a subtle shift occurred in her expression, a flicker of something almost like guilt. She quickly pressed herself closer, rubbing her chest playfully against my arm. Hey, no peeking through my things, she murmured, her voice a low, playful reprimand. There are surprises in there for you, you know. Surprises. Like a watch dedicated to another man? The thought was a bitter counterpoint to her sweet tone. The small, elegant Leo etched onto that page felt like a brand on my own heart. I decided to test the waters, keeping my voice casual. Guess what I found in your sketchbook just now? I watched her face intently, searching for any crack in her composure, any hint of unease. Clara just laughed, a light, airy sound. Why are you looking at me like that? She reached up, her fingers gently tracing the scar on my cheek. A familiar gesture that usually soothed me, but now felt strangely hollow. Her lips brushed against my ear. What's wrong, darling? Overthinking again. Her fingertips trailed down, teasingly tracing my jawline. Despite the turmoil inside me, a familiar heat stirred. I pulled her close, silencing my doubts. Silencing her potential lies with a deep kiss. We clung to each other, the practiced intimacy almost masking the chasm that had suddenly opened between us. She finally pushed me away gently, covering her mouth with her hand, a shy smile playing on her lips. You're incorrigible. We have the amusement park this afternoon. Save that for when we get back. She traced a heart shape on my chest with her finger. I'll go finish packing. I watched her walk away, the sway of her hips familiar, yet suddenly alien. Taking a deep breath, I tried to push down the rising tide of suspicion and desire. My fingers went to the scar on my face. The fire had taken a piece of my skin, but it had given me her. Or so I thought. She'd emerged from that blaze completely unscathed, physically at least, thanks to me. I remembered the hospital, the smell of antiseptic, the pain. Clara had been there, beside my bed, her face streaked with tears, looking at me like I was her hero. She confessed her love soon after, and her devotion had seemed absolute. She was always with me when she wasn't working, clinging, affectionate. Even her closest friends would tease me, a hint of genuine envy in their voices. You've got some serious magic, Ethan, keeping Clara this captivated. It seemed impossible. The Clara I knew, the Clara who adored me, who built her life around me. Could she really be betraying me with another man? No, I told myself firmly. I must be mistaken. It's just stress, overthinking. By the time I'd changed, Clara had everything ready, a backpack filled to the brim. I swung it onto my shoulder naturally. She fussed over me, applying moisturizer and sunscreen with meticulous care, finally stepping back with a satisfied clap of her hands. I caught my reflection in the hallway mirror, practically mummified against the sun, and offered a wry smile. Clara grabbed my hand, pulling me towards the door. We'd just reached the garage when her phone rang, shrill and insistent. She glanced at the caller. ID and declined it. It rang again immediately. She declined it again, a flicker of annoyance crossing her face. The third time, it kept ringing. She looked at me, her expression apologetic. "It's okay," I said softly. "Answer it." Clara took the call, her initial tone sharp with impatience. "What is it?" But as she listened, her expression softened, the annoyance replaced by something gentler. The person on the other end spoke for a while. She ended the call and turned to me, biting her lip. "I'm so sorry, Ethan." "Work emergency?" I asked, keeping my voice even. She nodded quickly, a little too quickly. I forced another smile. "It's all right. If it's urgent, you should go." Clara threw her arms around me, burying her face in my neck, nuzzling me like a kitten. "I'll be back as soon as I can, I promise." "I'm so sorry to make you wait, Ethan. Need me to drive you?" She shook her head, pulling back to give me a quick, reassuring kiss. "Don't trouble my wonderful husband-to-be. I'll grab a cab. It'll be faster. Wait for me, okay? Be good." She slipped on a light cardigan over her summer dress and hurried out the door. My smile faded the moment she was gone. The light in my eyes dimmed. Her office was a decent drive away. She'd definitely need transport. But something felt off. On impulse, I followed, keeping a safe distance. Instead of heading towards the main road to hail a taxi, Clara glanced around furtively, then slipped down a narrow, seldom-used alleyway between two buildings. My heart tightened. A cold dread washed over me. I followed, my footsteps silent on the cracked pavement. The alley twisted and turned, finally opening onto a small, secluded clearing where a tiny, weathered wooden cabin stood, almost hidden by overgrown bushes. Standing by the door, bathed in the dappled sunlight filtering through the leaves, was Leo. He didn't hesitate. He pulled her into his arms the moment she was close enough, cupping her face, his mouth finding hers in a kiss that spoke of familiarity and passion, not urgency or work. Clara hooked her leg around his, kicking the cabin door shut behind them with a soft creak. My breath hitched. Cautiously, I crept closer. The alley was deserted. Perhaps they felt secure in their privacy. The door hadn't latched properly, leaving a tiny sliver of a gap. Peeking through, my world tilted on its axis. Inside, Clara shrugged off her cardigan, revealing the bare shoulders and neckline of her summer dress. Leo's eyes devoured her. He pulled her tight against him, his head dipping low. "You look stunning in this dress." His voice was husky, intimate. A small, self-satisfied smile touched Clara's lips. "Your taste isn't half bad, I suppose," she murmured, her voice laced with playful condescension. He leaned down again, capturing her mouth in another deep kiss. I could see his face clearly now. It was undeniably Leo, her assistant. Clara responded eagerly, her hands tangling in his hair. They stumbled towards a small bed tucked in the corner, falling onto it in an embrace. "I envy your fiancé," Leo murmured against her skin, a bitter edge to his voice. "Even with that ugly scar on his face, you still love him so much." Clara slapped him lightly across the cheek, not in anger, but with a teasing glint in her eye. She then threaded her fingers through his hair, pulling gently. "Jealous?" Leo swallowed hard, his eyes glazed with desire. "Miss Clara, you're beautiful." Clara's hand moved slowly, provocatively, lifting the hem of her skirt. "And would you like to see something even more beautiful?" A wave of nausea washed over me. I knew what was coming next. I turned and fled, stumbling back down the alleyway, the image of them burned into my mind. Each muffled sound I thought I heard from the cabin was a fresh stab of pain. Tears welled, hot and stinging, blurring my vision as I walked blindly away. Every memory of Clara mentioning working late, every emergency meeting, replayed in my head, now cast in a sickening new light. Were those nights spent hunched over designs? Or here, less than 500 meters from our home, tangled in the arms of another man? But denial was a powerful anesthetic. Part of me, the part that loved her desperately, refused to accept it. I was too cowardly, too broken, to face the raw, undeniable truth. Even though I knew. That evening, Clara called, just as I knew she would. Her voice was soft, apologetic. "Ethan, I'm so sorry, I have to work late tonight. I won't make it back." A pause. Was she kissing him then? "I'll finish this project, and tomorrow, I promise, we'll have the most wonderful anniversary celebration. Believe me, it'll be perfect." Her words landed like blows, stealing the breath from my lungs. Maybe Leo was lying beside her right now, listening. Maybe every pause was filled with his touch, his kiss. I felt numb, devoid of the energy even to question her, to rage. The fight had gone out of me. Okay, was all I could manage to whisper. The call ended abruptly. Back to their nest, I thought, a fresh wave of bitterness washing over me. Sleep was impossible. I tossed and turned, the images from the cabin playing on a loop in my mind. Finally, I picked up my phone, opened Clara's social media profile, and easily found Leo's linked account through her friends list. Using a burner account, I followed him. His latest post, uploaded just an hour ago, a picture. A woman's long hair obscured her face, but she was nestled possessively in his arms. I knew instantly it was Clara. The caption twisted the knife. Sometimes, an interesting soul just can't compete with a perfect body. His meaning was brutally clear. My hand instinctively went to the scar on my cheek. A choked, humorless laugh escaped me. The next morning, I woke to find Clara sitting beside my bed, holding my hand gently. Her expression was soft, loving. Seeing my eyes open, she smiled. "You're awake? I'm so sorry you had to wait so long yesterday. Come on, sleepyhead. Get up. I made breakfast." A faint, unfamiliar perfume clung to her, mingling with her usual scent. And on her neck, strategically placed, was a large adhesive bandage, the kind used for muscle aches. My eyes fixed on it. I reached out, as if to touch it, to ask. Clara flinched back subtly, smoothly avoiding my touch. "Oh, this?" she said quickly, touching the patch herself. "Pulled something working on designs all night. My neck is killing me. Leo gave me this patch, told me to try it." "Leo? Of course." I murmured, not challenging the lie, not pointing out the hickey it almost certainly concealed. She gently pulled me out of bed. Her voice, I noticed, was slightly hoarse, lacking its usual energy, as if strained from exertion. On the dining table, an elaborate breakfast was laid out, beautifully presented, exactly to my liking. I rushed back. "Hope you like it, Ethan," she said, looking at me with wide, apologetic eyes. She leaned in to kiss me, but I turned my head slightly. "Haven't brushed my teeth yet," I mumbled. Clara chuckled softly, as if I'd mind. Before she could try again, I escaped to the bathroom. She watched me go, a small, helpless shrug in her gesture. I took my time brushing my teeth, staring at my reflection, at the scar Leo had mocked. Then I sat down and forced myself to eat the breakfast she'd prepared. The irony was suffocating. A woman who spent the night entwined with another man rushes home to make her betrayed fiancé breakfast. The complexity of it, the deceit, the lingering affection, the sheer audacity, churned in my stomach. "Finished, Ethan?" Clara handed me a napkin. I ignored it, pulling a paper towel from the holder beside my plate instead. She must have sensed my distance, likely attributing it to pique about her ditching our plans yesterday. She knelt beside my chair, her expression soft, taking my hand in hers. "Ethan, are you still mad about yesterday? It was really unprofessional of them to call me in like that. I was wrong not to put my foot down. Let me make it up to you, okay?" She pulled me to my feet and produced a small, elegantly wrapped box from her pocket. "Ethan, happy 5th anniversary." I opened it. Inside, nestled on velvet, was another stunning pocket watch. "Sometimes," she began, her eyes earnest, gazing into mine, "I just feel so incredibly lucky. 5 years, and we're still as sweet as ever. It's like, we're blessed, Ethan. Meant to be. We're going to spend countless more 5 years together, celebrating every single one." She took the watch out, her fingers moving to fasten it onto my wrist. I pulled my hand back gently. "I need to do the dishes later," I said, my voice flat. "Don't want to get it wet." Clara squeezed my cheek playfully, perhaps a flicker of guilt surfacing behind her smile. "You always do the dishes. Today it's my turn. Consider it part of my apology." True to her word, after clearing the table, she went out and returned laden with groceries, declaring she would cook me a feast. She shooed me out of the kitchen whenever I tried to help, bustling around from morning till late afternoon. "Just wait and relax," she insisted. "Leave everything to me." As evening fell, she dimmed the dining room lights and lit candles on the table. It was laden with over a dozen dishes, my favorites among them. She'd even ordered a beautiful, elaborate cake. "Happy anniversary, Ethan." She poured 2 glasses of red wine, handing one to me, her eyes sparkling in the candlelight. We clinked glasses. I took a token sip. Clara, however, finished hers quickly and poured another. After 2 glasses, her cheeks were flushed, her inhibitions lowered. She chattered brightly about difficult clients, funny anecdotes from work. The warm candlelight softened her features, and for a dangerous moment, my resolve wavered. She was good to me, wasn't she? Her love for me, or what seemed like love, was undeniable to everyone around us. If only If only none of this had happened. Could I give her another chance? Would she take it? Would she change? My hand slipped into my pocket, fingers closing around the smooth, cool metal of the engagement ring I'd been carrying for weeks. Just as I was about to pull it out, her phone rang again, shattering the fragile moment. I slid the ring back into the depths of my pocket. Clara frowned at the screen, then answered curtly, "Sorry, I'm busy. I can't make it." She hung up quickly, then turned back to me, grabbing the cake and lighting the candles. "Come on, let's make a wish together," she urged brightly. A wish? What was there left to wish for? Still, I mirrored her actions, closing my eyes, clasping my hands together before the flickering flames. When I opened them, Clara was already on her phone again, scrolling through messages, her brow furrowed slightly. She looked up, catching my eye, her expression apologetic yet again. "Ethan, I'm so sorry, but it looks like I go," I said, the word tasting like ash. It was the same script, the same predictable ending. She grabbed her cardigan, leaning in to kiss me quickly. "I'll be back as soon as I possibly can. I promise." I just smiled faintly, not meeting her eyes, not responding. The moment the front door closed behind her, I pulled out my phone and checked Leo's social media. As expected, a new post. A picture of a table covered in empty liquor bottles. He'd clearly drunk himself into a stupor. "Thank you, my girlfriend, for taking care of me." No, the caption wasn't there yet, but I knew where Clara was going. I knew who she was tending to. The truth was blindingly obvious now, and dissecting it further felt pointless, masochistic. It was time. I walked into my bedroom and started packing. Being a minimalist, it didn't take long. One backpack held everything essential. The watch she'd given me today, along with the 4 previous anniversary watches and every other gift she'd ever given me, I placed neatly in a row on the coffee table. Then, I took the engagement ring from my pocket. For a moment, I held it, the weight of 5 years, of dreams shattered, resting in my palm. Then, with a flick of my wrist, I tossed it into the nearby trash bin. Without a backward glance, I walked out of the apartment and closed the door on 5 years of my life. Outside, standing on the curb, waiting for my ride, I saw another update from Leo. A new picture, him lying in bed, looking blissful, while a slender hand delicately spoon-fed him soup. Long, elegant fingers I knew intimately. Clara's hand. Our anniversary night. And she was nursing her drunken lover. A wave of self-loathing washed over me. I raised my hand and slapped myself hard across the face, the sting momentarily grounding me. "Ethan, you damn fool," I cursed inwardly. "What the hell are you still holding on to?" A car pulled up beside me, the passenger window rolling down. My friend, David, leaned across the seat. "What are you doing, slapping yourself? Don't stand there looking like an idiot. Get in." I slid into the passenger seat, burying my face in my hands, fighting back the acidic burn of tears. "What's up?" David asked, pulling away from the curb. "Had a fight? That's rare for you two lovebirds." "We broke up," I mumbled into my hands. David Lungley glanced at me, surprised. "Broke up? Seriously?" His shock was understandable. In 5 years, Clara and I had barely raised our voices at each other. "Why?" "She cheated." David drove in silence for a moment, then whistled softly. "Wow, didn't see that one coming." He glanced over again, saw the tears finally escaping, tracking paths down my cheeks, and wisely shut his mouth. Later, my phone buzzed again. Leo's third update. A picture of a table laden with nourishing soups and remedies. The caption, "Thanks to my girlfriend for the amazing care package. Love." I quickly locked the screen, leaning my head back and closing my eyes. Leo. I'd met him a few times. Clara's assistant. Apparently, he'd been a fashion model, but had a falling out with his agency over commission splits and stormed out, tearing up his contract. He'd struggled to find work afterwards, bouncing between rejections until he somehow landed a position at Clara's company, completely unrelated to his background. Then, one day, he casually pointed out a flaw in one of her designs. Clara, impressed by his sharp eye, had taken him on as her sole assistant. Looking back, Clara had always treated him brusquely in front of me, ordering him around. But towards me, her voice was always soft, gentle, almost cautious. It was all an act. The woman I'd shared my bed and life with for 5 years, the woman whose love had felt so deep and encompassing, had been whispering affections to someone else all along. The car moved smoothly through the night. I opened my eyes, watched the city lights blur past, then closed them again as fresh tears escaped, soaking into my collar. Meanwhile, back at Leo's cabin, Clara gently tucked the blanket around a now sleeping Leo. She turned to leave, but his hand shot out, grabbing her arm. "Stay. Please stay a little longer," he mumbled, his voice thick with sleep and alcohol, laced with a practiced, boyish charm. Clara sighed, gently stroking his hair. It's mine and Ethan's anniversary today. I need to get back home. Leo's grip tightened. Don't go. Stay with me. Clara snatched her arm away, the gentle expression vanishing from her face, replaced by cold irritation. Can you please try to be considerate for once? Leo shrank back, releasing his hold, looking chastened. When Clara finally arrived home, breathless and perhaps expecting a confrontation or at least a sulking fiancé, she found the apartment empty. Puzzled, she called my name. Silence answered her. Then, her eyes fell on the coffee table. Lined up perfectly were the 5 pocket watches. Her anniversary gifts to me. Her heart plummeted. Her hand flew to her mouth as she frantically picked one up, clutching it tightly. She scrambled for her phone, dialing my number again and again. Each time, it went straight to voicemail. Her legs gave way, and she sank to the floor, bewildered and terrified. Her gaze swept the room frantically, landing on the small trash bin. Near the sofa, something inside caught the light, a tiny, almost insignificant glint. Trembling, she reached in and carefully retrieved it. Held under the lamp, it shone, a simple, elegant engagement ring. In that instant, the full weight of her actions crashed down upon her. She understood. A choked sob escaped her lips, followed by a torrent of tears streaming down her face. Back in David's car. Buddy, hey buddy, wake up. We're here. David gently shook my shoulder. I blinked, opening my eyes, automatically checking my phone. 22 missed calls from Clara. I locked the screen without a second thought and got out of the car. David followed me up the walk. You sure you don't want to call her back? He asked hesitantly. She's been blowing up my phone too. He showed me his call log. I reached over and pressed the block contact button for her number on his phone. Just block her, Dave. Otherwise, she won't stop. David sighed, looking sympathetic, but did as I asked. Inside his spare room, David tossed me a cold beer from the mini fridge. I popped the top. He sat down on the edge of the bed beside me. So, what's the plan now? I took a long swallow of the cold liquid. Think I'll re-enlist. Go back to being a firefighter. David choked on his own beer, coughing violently. Are you cough crazy? No way. He slapped his chest, catching his breath. Absolutely not. I just looked at him silently. Ethan, have you forgotten what happened? He said, his voice earnest. The fire? The burns? Look at your face, man. That scar isn't just skin deep. You spent 6 months seeing a shrink after you quit. If Clara hadn't been there constantly, supporting you. He stopped abruptly, realizing his slip. The fire. It hadn't just scarred my face. It had left deep psychological wounds. PTSD, the therapist called it. Clara had been my rock then, patiently guiding me through therapy, celebrating small victories, holding me during nightmares. Clara. Hearing her name still sent a pang through my chest, a complex mix of pain and residual tenderness. Look, man, David said quickly. I didn't mean to bring that up. That path isn't right for you anymore. Seriously, why don't you come work with me at the factory for a bit? Take your mind off things. I managed a weak smile and shook my head. It's okay, Dave. I know you mean well. Let me think about it. The next day, however, David practically dragged me to his manufacturing plant. Look, you used to be a firefighter, right? You know safety protocols. Just walk around. Check if the safety measures are up to code. Keep an eye on the workers. Make sure no one's slacking off too much. I laughed. So, basically zero heavy lifting? You hiring me as a mascot? Smartass. David grinned, giving me a playful shove. Surprisingly, I settled into the routine at the factory. I'd do my rounds, ensuring safety compliance, then wander over to the R&D department. I'd sample snacks from one production line, grab a drink from another, and offer unsolicited opinions on product design or efficiency. David would initially fume, muttering about freeloaders, but my feedback often turned out to be surprisingly insightful. The R&D team started actively seeking my input. Guess your salary is actually worth it, David conceded one day, looking over glowing reports. Life gradually found a new rhythm, a semblance of peace. Until, one afternoon, months later, Clara showed up at the factory gates. Mr. Davies? There's a woman here asking for you. The security guard called over the intercom. My heart gave a jolt. Setting down the prototype I was examining, I headed out. The moment Clara saw me, her eyes filled with tears, and she rushed forward, arms outstretched to embrace me. I sidestepped smoothly. She stumbled, catching herself, looking lost and hurt. Ethan. Clara. I acknowledged coolly, keeping my distance. She wiped furiously at her tears, and I took a proper look at her for the first time in months. The woman who always looked impeccably put together, down to the last strand of hair, now wore wrinkled clothes, her hair messy, dark circles under her eyes. She looked utterly exhausted and fragile. She took a tentative step forward. I instinctively took a step back, maintaining the space between us. Her composure broke completely, and she started sobbing raggedly. "Ethan, I'm so sorry. I know I was wrong. I really, truly know I was wrong. Please." Her crying grated on my nerves. The carefully constructed peace I'd built felt threatened. I turned to walk back inside. She darted forward, grabbing the hem of my shirt. "Don't go, Ethan. Please, just listen." Her voice was a desperate whisper. Something inside me snapped. All the pent-up hurt, the swallowed betrayal, the silent suffering, finally erupted. I yanked my shirt free from her grasp, my voice low and shaking with suppressed fury. "Clara, what the hell did you take me for? Telling me you loved me with one breath, while screwing my life over with the next." My chest heaved. "Have you got any conscience left, Clara? How dare you? How dare you come here asking me to take you back?" I was shouting now, the raw emotion pouring out. Clara stared at me, stunned into silence by my outburst, tears frozen on her cheeks. "Ethan, I didn't wait to hear it." Turning my back on her, I stormed back into the factory. I almost collided with David, who was leaning against the doorframe, an unlit cigarette dangling from his lips. He'd clearly been watching. His expression was complex, pity, understanding, maybe even pride. He wordlessly handed me a tissue. I hadn't even realized I was crying again, this time tears of anger and release. "You've finally changed, Ethan," David said quietly. I frowned, wiping my eyes. "What do you mean?" He lit his cigarette, took a drag, and offered it to me. I accepted, inhaling deeply. "Before," David continued, smoke curling around. His words, "whenever it came to Clara, no matter what she did, you'd never confront her. You'd just swallow it, suffer in silence." I exhaled a long stream of smoke, the tension in my chest easing slightly. "Did I?" "Yeah, you did." David clapped me gently on the shoulder. "Stay sharp, Ethan. Don't go backward." I leaned against the doorframe, watching David walk away and finish the cigarette in silence. Then, I stubbed it out firmly in the ashtray and headed back into the noise and bustle of the factory floor. After that confrontation, Clara didn't reappear. Life settled back into its new normal. I was starting to genuinely believe I could build a future without her when an unwelcome ghost from the past materialized. I was enjoying a rare day off, sitting alone in a quiet coffee shop, savoring a cappuccino, an old habit I hadn't kicked. Perhaps I should have checked my horoscope. My peace was short-lived. A figure slid into the chair opposite me. "Mr. Davies. Long time no see." I looked up, my eyes narrowing. My stomach clenched. "Leo." He smirked, clearly pleased by my reaction. "You look surprised, Mr. Davies. So, you do remember me." "Remember you?" A cold, bitter laugh formed in my mind. "You're practically etched onto my nightmares." Leo nonchalantly flicked his wrist, drawing my attention to the watch he wore. It was strikingly similar to the design in Clara's sketchbook, the one dedicated to him. His tone dripped with smug pride. "Miss Clara designed this especially for me. Beautiful, isn't it?" I studied the watch face, then allowed a slow, deliberate smile to spread across my lips. "It's nice. But isn't that the one she salvaged from a rejected design draft?" Leo's smirk froze, then vanished, replaced by a flash of anger. "That's a lie," he snapped. I chuckled softly, enjoying his reaction, deliberately twisting the knife. "Clara and I shared a bed and 5 years of our lives. We were practically married. Rejected designs, final pieces. I think I'd know the difference better than her assistant, wouldn't you?" His face fell, visibly deflated. He knew I might be right. Honestly, I was bluffing. I had no idea if it was a reject or not. But the goal was simply to puncture his arrogance, and clearly, it had worked. He recovered quickly, forcing a sneer. He shifted slightly, angling his neck to subtly display a faint mark, likely a hickey, near his collarbone. "You know, Ethan," he said, his voice regaining its oily confidence, "Clara really loves me." He leaned forward conspiratorially. "Let's be honest. Compared to a disfigured freak like you, she obviously prefers a man like me. I used to be a model, you know? Still, keep myself in great shape." He smirked cruelly. You're just coasting on the fact you saved her life once. That's the only reason she tolerated you for so long. If he'd said this months ago, it would have devastated me, sending me spiraling into self-doubt. But now, his words felt pathetic. I had faced my demons, accepted my scars, both visible and invisible. His insults couldn't reach me anymore. "That scar on your face," he continued, warming to his theme, oblivious to my calm demeanor. "It's genuinely repulsive. Any normal woman would want to vomit just looking at you. I bet every time Miss Clara kissed you, she had to fight back the urge to gag." "Ha ha." I simply watched him, my expression unreadable. He was so caught up in his venomous monologue that he didn't notice the figure approaching rapidly from behind. Suddenly, a hand shot out, grabbing Leo's collar from behind, yanking him backward. A sharp crack echoed through the quiet coffee shop as a palm connected forcefully with his cheek. Leo stared, stunned and disoriented, anger flaring in his eyes until he saw who had hit him. Clara. Her face was contorted with fury. She grabbed his ear, twisting it viciously, and hauled him bodily out of the chair. He stumbled, lost his balance, and crashed onto the floor. Not satisfied, Clara delivered a sharp kick to his ribs. "Get out," she hissed, her voice trembling with rage. "If I ever see you harassing my boyfriend again, you're finished." Leo scrambled up from the floor, clutching his side, his eyes wide and red-rimmed. Seeing the fury in her eyes, he didn't dare argue. He turned and fled the coffee shop. Clara stood there, breathing heavily, her chest rising and falling rapidly. I watched her, my expression unchanged, then corrected her last statement calmly. "Miss Clara, not boyfriend, ex-boyfriend." She froze, the anger draining from her face, replaced by a familiar look of pleading desperation. She cautiously sat down beside me, her hand tentatively covering mine on the table. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "What happened before? I was wrong. So wrong." Her palm felt hot against my skin. A single tear escaped, landing on my finger, making me flinch almost imperceptibly. "Ethan, please forgive me. I'm begging you." Her voice trembled with that same fragile vulnerability that used to melt my heart. In the past, seeing her like this, so seemingly broken and remorseful, would have been enough. I would have pulled her close, forgiven everything. But not anymore. That part of me was gone, burned away by betrayal. "I'm sorry, Clara." I pulled my hand away without hesitation. Draining the last of my cold cappuccino, I stood up and walked out of the coffee shop, leaving her alone at the table. Clara probably thought she could have it all, the stability of her devoted fiancé and the illicit thrill of a secret lover, compartmentalized, hidden away in dark corners. She likely believed she controlled the narrative. But consequences, like karma, have a way of arriving unannounced. Clara's entire design philosophy, her brand identity, was built on the concept of love as the ultimate luxury, pure, untainted, eternal. She spoke eloquently about it in interviews, wove it into her marketing. Unfortunately for her, someone in the coffee shop had recorded the entire altercation. Leo's taunts, Clara's violent defense, my cold rejection. The video went viral. Online sleuths, fueled by a love for drama, quickly pieced together the story. The narrative spread like wildfire, the acclaimed designer of symbols embodying. Pure love was caught in a tawdry love triangle, betraying the very ideals she professionally championed. Her designs suddenly seemed tainted, hypocritical. In the world of luxury goods, especially those tied to emotional significance like love and commitment, a designer's reputation is paramount. It's intrinsically linked to the brand's value. Clara's career imploded. Clients canceled orders, boutiques dropped her line, collaborations evaporated. The work she had built over years vanished almost overnight. Facing a PR nightmare, the company she worked for acted swiftly to distance themselves. They fired her publicly, issuing a statement vowing never to associate their brand with Clara or Leo again. Cause and effect. A harsh lesson learned too late. Meanwhile, back at David's factory, things were unexpectedly booming. My suggestions, initially offered half-jokingly, had led to significant improvements in product quality and production efficiency. Sales figures climbed steadily, then skyrocketed to unprecedented levels. One afternoon, David burst into the small office space they'd given me, waving a sales report, his eyes wide with disbelief. He counted the zeros at the end of the total revenue figures several times, then grabbed my arm, shaking it excitedly. "We did it. Ethan, we actually did it. We're rich. We're bloody rich." He was shaking me so hard my head spun. Dave, let go." He released me abruptly, then yanked open a filing cabinet, pulled out a thick wad of cash, and slammed it onto my desk. "Here, take this for now, buddy. Good faith bonus. I'll wire the rest to your account later." Before I could react, he rushed out of the office, shouting that everyone in the factory was getting a hefty bonus this month. A roar of approval and cheers erupted from the factory floor. I stared at the stack of bills, dazed. Slowly, I started counting. My eyes widened with each banknote I flicked through. Maybe, just maybe, things were finally starting to look up. The next time I saw Clara was several weeks later, during a factory celebratory dinner at a local upscale restaurant. She was working there, as a waitress. Our eyes met across the bustling dining room. She froze, then immediately dropped her gaze, color flooding her cheeks. She looked thinner, worn down. I watched her with a detached curiosity as she moved between tables, her movements hesitant, lacking her former confidence. She eventually arrived at our large table, holding a wine bottle, her eyes fixed firmly on the tablecloth as she began pouring drinks. David followed my gaze, his jaw dropping slightly. "Holy crap, isn't that the famous designer, Clara? What's she doing working here?" he exclaimed, not bothering to lower his voice. Clara's ears turned crimson, but she didn't respond, focusing intently on filling glasses. "Clara? Isn't that Ethan's girlfriend?" one of the foremen asked, leaning forward. I took a sip of my tea before correcting him calmly. "Ex-girlfriend." The foreman scratched his head, looking embarrassed. Right. Ex-girlfriend." He closed the menu. "Okay, think we're ready to order. Waitress, we'll take these. Bring the food out ASAP, yeah?" He handed the menus to Clara. She took them numbly and practically fled towards the kitchen. David nudged me as I watched her retreating back. I jumped slightly. "What? Stop being creepy." He leaned closer, lowering his voice conspiratorially. "Hey, remember that other guy? Clara's pretty boy assistant. Leo." Yeah, him." David grinned mischievously. "Guess what he's doing now?" I shook my head, genuinely uninterested but playing along. "What?" David chuckled. "Working as a male model at a questionable bar downtown. Heard he caters to all tastes, if you catch my drift." An image of Leo, simpering and trying to be seductive, flashed through my mind. A sudden, involuntary shudder ran down my spine. All tastes. So he was basically an escort. Now, the thought was more pathetic than anything else. A brief, fleeting thought surfaced. Those rich clients, men or women, weren't getting much value for their money. I sighed softly. David misread my reaction. "Hey, just gossip, man. Don't tell me you actually feel sorry for the guy." He clapped me on the shoulder. I pushed his hand away playfully. "Get lost, Dave." He laughed, then raised his glass, silencing the table. "All right, everyone, let's raise a glass. To record-breaking sales, to a fantastic team, and to an even better future for this factory. Cheers." A chorus of cheers erupted around the table as glasses clinked together. I raised my own glass, a genuine smile touching my lips for perhaps the first time in a long while. The past still lingered, a scar tissue beneath the surface. But here, now, surrounded by colleagues who respected me, celebrating a success I had helped build, the future felt bright. Happiness, it seemed, wasn't in the grand gestures or perfect facades, but perhaps in the steady rhythm of moving forward, one hard-earned victory at a time. And it tasted pretty good, especially washed down with cheap beer and shared laughter.